Only in a communist society would all of a population be born and remain equal, in contrast to Thomas Jefferson's belief that all men are created equal. The lives of Frederick B. Douglass and Elizabeth Stanton paint more accurate pictures of American life, not just then, but today. Americans are born into different levels of society and are afforded some degree of opportunity to either rise or fall from this predisposed level of security. Life for the two individuals came on as, as uneven as you could consider, but with use of opportunity and tools that they began building with, eventually they got pretty successful. Both Douglas and Stanton disproved the notion of being born equal while also supporting the idea of the pursuit of happiness. Um, in the beginning of life, Stanton and Douglas, Elizabeth Stanton and Frederick Douglass, were both born of completely different social classes, races, and rights, which you could consider opportunity. Um, Douglas was born a slave and remained a slave for such a long period, while Stanton was born the daughter of a wealthy lawyer. Stanton was sent to school with the boys and did better than all her classmates learning. For the beginning, at least, she was actually afforded the same high quality education as the white boys. Douglas, on the other hand, was denied such education for the first several years of his life. It's considered a big deal to educate a slave, even to the extent of reading off ingredients in the kitchen. Uh, it was actually not just frowned upon, but you could be really punished for it. But Douglas's owner did not realize it at first, and the owner's wife taught him basic reading skills while Douglas played with her child in the house. Um, Easily seen are the differences between Stanton and Douglas already, even at birth. So they weren't, in God's eyes, they were born equal. They were both human. But in society, they were not equal. They didn't have the same opportunities. They didn't have the same wealth. They didn't have the same rights. But this is where it gets good. Okay? Their differences span racial, financial, and social divides. However, with hard work and the best use of what little resources are afforded to them, they both manage to climb the social ladder and pursue more than they were first given. Um, Slaves like Douglas in his writings had the belief that they were where they should be. They didn't believe that they shouldn't be slaves. They were brainwashed. This is how it was. This is how it's always been. This is what we deserve, whatever. Um, and it's actually, they even frowned upon other slaves inciting rebellion or freedom. And although some did, some of the more free thinkers, like Douglas, for example, but they did not usually question their fate. By learning how to read, Douglas caught a glimpse of what separated him from the freed society and set out to learn as much as possible. By taking full advantage of his limited resources, Douglas starts compounding his knowledge of public speaking, of finances, history, and literature. And by doing so, Douglas is able to gain momentum and progress. His progress gains speed. Frederick Douglass can be seen by the world as a great example of how a man on the bottom who takes advantage of any opportunity, no matter how limited, and rise above his beginnings and set forward a new path. Elizabeth Stanton also did so in her life, though she starts with better resources than a slave like Douglas. Stanton still took her early education and success head on and used that to further her career. Once society decided that Stanton had gone far enough as a woman, she used her education and gained social standing as a foothold to further fight for women's rights. Stanton saw a problem, and by using the tools she had, she helped solve the problem both for others and herself. Both Douglas and Stanton had to believe they were meant to be better than they already were, and that they had to seize upon any opportunity and tools that they had within close reach and go from there. Douglas and Stanton may not have started out as equals to each other, as Jefferson's famous writings proclaim they should, but they both managed to claim far better than they started out as in life. Douglas and Stanton both started out in some form or other of an American nightmare, but turned it into the American dream. Um, and by that, obviously, it's easy to see where Douglas, his beginning situations were indeed very bad. But Stanton, though she was the daughter of a wealthy lawyer, was still a woman. And back then they couldn't vote, they had no land rights, and education actually was limited, especially for someone that liked to read and continue their education. Female doctors weren't even common. Um, I seen in Dr. Quinn, the TV show, that basically was showing an example of, the things that she had to put up with in her own little town. Um, but though Jefferson was wrong by saying that all humans are created equal in the social setting sense, both Stanton and Douglas show Americans today how the American dream should and can be played out. Stanton and Douglas also show Americans what is won when the tools have been used effectively. Success is the goal of any human being, or it should be, and it's achieved in the end in both Stanton and Douglas's life story. Um, Only in a communist society would an entire population be born and remain equal. Like I said before, it is a very positive viewpoint because the drive to success is the very motivation that keeps society on its toes. Without the continual drive for improvement, be it pertaining to personal life or society as a whole, the nation is bound by its ruler to a constant state of being and not progress, not invention, not entrepreneurship. See what I'm saying? The drive, when everyone in society is equal, everyone is on the top, but everyone is also on the bottom. Be it not for the drive to beat siblings to the mother first to nurse, the entire litter would starve. Going against Jefferson's statement that everyone is created equal, Stanton and Douglas pushed forward more than they started with, and is that very drive that led to their success. And even though it wasn't to compete with others, it wasn't to outdo somebody, it wasn't out of greed, um, but it was self improvement. Knowing it, if you believe that everyone is equal regardless, and everyone owns everything regardless, why would you work? And that's the downfall of communism, because eventually that's the attitude that people start to pick up, and that's when it starts to collapse. Socialism. But anyway, only when a nation, a group, or individual takes the tools and resources that are available to build themselves up, do they truly earn equality or superiority? Bam.